Hi, this is a review of the first game day of the title Blast Chess.com Indonesia 2026 tournament. On the first day, two games are played with a control of 45 minutes plus 10 seconds. The tournament in Indonesia is a Tier 2 tournament. Okay, let's get started. In the first round, I played against Dawson Mackenzie, 2040 ELO. I don't know anything about him, and I don't think there's any point in talk about him. I was playing black. e4, c5, c3. It's immediately clear that white is playing for a draw and has chosen a very dull opening. Situations like this aren't rare, so I had options like e5 or knight c6, but I chose the rare situation or e5. Knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, knight g5. White is playing by the book and surprisingly isn't afraid to play aggressively, but the following sequence of moves is standard theory, like d5, ed, knight take d5, queen h5, g6, queen f3, queen g5, bishop take d5, knight d8, castle, and bishop g4. Queen g3, queen g4. I don't know how to explain it, but it seems to me that the exchange of queens would be to my advantage. Okay, like queen e4, ef, knight e3, bishop h6, f3, white's first mistake, f3 is white's first mistake, and why? His first mistake, I had already planned to retire it with my bishop anyway, and the movie f3 only encourages me to carry out my own plan. Bishop 6. Bishop takes 6, knight takes 6, and rook e1, castle, knight c2, b5. I sensed that my opponent didn't have a clear plan in the middle game, and in response to their logical, like before, and I play a5. It's a second mistake because as they open up a very dangerous a line. It's firstly, and yes, a line is very dangerous, like for example rook f5, a3, bishop g7, bishop b2, and bishop b2 is a strange move. To be honest, I can't explain its purpose. c4, which the idea of freeing up the c5 square for the knight. Knight before knight c5, d4 a critical mistake for me. As white showed, they would quickly recapture the pawn on d, but failed to see a series of compensations, like sitting, rook d e1, knight b3, rook a b1, d2, king f2, and rook e8. Cut off the e line, and the king can't help recapture the d pawn because king haven't e line. Knight c2, rook a6, knight d4, bishop take d4 cd, rook e3, d5 g5, bishop e5 f6, rook b8, rook take a3, rook b2, rook c3, king e2, rook f4, bishop d6, rook d4, bishop e7, king f7. White has neither plan nor any prospects for development, and so on. I've blocked all their small ideas for solving the position in any way. Bishop d8, rook e3 check, king f2, rook take d5, bishop b6, rook c3, king e2, knight c1, king f2, knight d3 check, and and white resigned. No material, no complete counterplay, and the position rated -8 by the computer. On my part, there were some minor reckless and execution during the game, but overall the game went perfectly according 92.5. Okay, the second game was against a strong master from Hungary, Miklos Nagy, 2320 elo, and I was again playing black. d4, knight f6, bishop f4, b6, knight f3, e6, c4, and bishop b4 check, knight c3, bishop b7. I played a fairly creative variation against the London system. The idea is that black doesn't want to play d5 and play aggressively on the king side, and this game was no exception. Queen b3, f5, h3, bishop takes e3, queen takes e3, d6. The idea is to place knight on d7 before castling. Many may not understand why is there if we won't be able to advance the pawn to e5 anyway, because pawn d3, bishop f4 and knight f3 controls the e5. But the answer is simple. Our goal to place the knight on e4 and reinforce each wish's second knight via the d7 f6 moves. White play e3. White play e3, knight b to d7, bishop d3, castle castle, knight d4, queen c2 f5. Is a quite surprising to me that I was allowed to capture the e4 square. I think white was obligated to exchange the bishop for the dangerous central knight. No, wait, sorry. But that's a subjective opinion, and the computer doesn't critical this movie queen c2, so we won't count it's a mistake. Knight d4 g5. The computer criticizes my eccentric aggression, but in my opinion, first of all, this is the main idea of the line opening of a plate and attack on the king's flank, and secondly, I would have been in a bad position without the g5 move, since the central exchange could have occurred. Bishop g3, knight take d2, queen take, h5, h3, h4, bishop f2, h3, e4, hg, queen take g2, queen f6. A strong attack is looming. White needs to do something, and as far as I'm concerned, my opponent played logically. After all, when you attack it from a countering flank, the center can weaken significantly, and of course my opponent began to size the center. Rook e1, f4, rook g1, king f7, king f1, rook h8, and rook g2. To be honest, a serious miscalculation on white's part. The opponent didn't want to play a position without h2 pawn. And why? Opponents chose a line that preserves the pawn 100%, but it's a very passive line that will work against him. Rook h3, king e2, rook h4, h8, rook h1, queen h6, bishop g1, knight f6, rook f2. Here is become clear that he got carried away, defending the pawn, and forgot about the king. King in center, and then strong tactical square followed, like g4, fg, rook take g3. After accepting the sacrifice, which queen d3, my follow-up wasn't the movie practice, but it wasn't nonetheless successful. Like bishop take e4, queen d2, f3, king e1, queen h3, g5, queen h5, queen e3, d5, rook d2, queen f5, h4, knight f4, h5, queen g4, queen f2, knight g2, king g1, d3, g6, king g7, rook h2, bishop f5, queen c1, queen f4, rook c2, knight f4, queen d2, and knight e2. At this point, I realized that my bots are struggling when I could exchange everything and calmly win a simple endgame. Rook take e2, fe, queen take e2, queen takes e2, queen takes e2, bishop takes e2, king c takes queen c2, rook take h5, and white resigning due to material difficult.